primary, they are denoted as N1, and number of turns pertaining to winding, secondary winding, it is denoted as N2. Okay. Now these are the different types of transformer, that is core type and shell type. Followed by that, we have seen EMF equation yesterday. So EMF equation is given by what? 4.44 F by M N1 with respect to primary. Similarly, with respect to secondary, it is 4.44 F by M N2 volts. Fine. Then also we have discussed for different types of losses in a transformer. So different types of losses, which are they? Yes. Which are the different types of losses?
Core and copper loss.
Okay. So majorly there are two types of losses, that is iron loss. The other name for iron loss is core loss or constant loss. Means core is made up of magnetic material. Because of that we call iron loss as core loss, and they are always constant. Whereas the other losses which will take place in the winding, which is made up of copper, it is called as copper loss, and they are constant. They are not constant. They are variable loss. Why? Because if you change the loading condition, accordingly current drawn by the transformer will be keeps on changing. If current changes, then copper loss given by the formula I square R losses will also change. Okay, because of that we say what is that, copper losses are variable losses, right? Also we have seen about efficiency of a transformer. Efficiency is given by what? Output by input. Output is nothing but voltage into current rating. VA means V stands for voltage, A stands for ampere here. So always remember, transformer is rated in kVA or simply VA. V stands for voltage, A stands for what is that, current, ampere. Now I would like to ask you one question. What do you mean by VA? Which type of power it is? Which type of power it is? Whether it is what is that, reactive power or apparent power or real power?
Apparent powers.
It is apparent power. Very good. So always remember, transformer ratings, they are expressed in apparent power given by VA. If magnitude is large, then its output is expressed in terms of kilovolt ampere, which is in short we write it as kVA. Or else if it is some more larger, then it is expressed as MVA, mega volt ampere. Usually the transformers which we find in substations and all, their ratings will be large. Because of that we express those ratings in terms of MVA, mega volt ampere. Okay, so efficiency is given by output by input. So input is nothing but what? Input is nothing but output plus total loss. So total loss is what? PI. PI stands for iron loss, and I2 square R2E, this is our copper loss. So this is the formula to estimate efficiency. Right. Then yesterday we also discussed about what is the condition for maximum efficiency. What is the condition? To get to this maximum efficiency condition, what should be the condition I should satisfy? Iron loss should be equal to copper loss. Okay, very good. And how do we reach to that equation? How do we reach to the equation that is iron loss is equal to copper loss? So it is all dependent on your what is that, efficiency equation. Efficiency is given by what? Output, that is kVA rating divided by kVA rating plus total loss. So output by input. So input means what? This is your output and this is your total loss. So total loss plus output is nothing but my input. So if you check this expression here, always in the case of transformer, voltage will be held constant. Power factor, that is also constant. Then iron loss, that is also constant. The resistance of the transformer, it is also once again constant. Then which is the only variable parameter from this expression here? Which is the only? Yes? Which is the only variable parameter?
Copper loss.
Copper loss, no doubt it is copper loss, but what is the formula for copper loss? I square R, yes or no? So in that I square R, whether I is variable or R is variable?
I is variable.
I is variable. In general, I is variable. So similarly here also, so from this expression, all the things they are denoted as V2, I2, cos pi 2. So here 2 stands for all the parameters they are related to the secondary side. Are you getting? Why we are not taking it as V1, I1, cos pi 1? Because always remember, we are connecting the load to the secondary side. Secondary side is denoted by the digit 2. This cos pi 2 is the power factor of the connected load, and always remember, load we are connecting to the secondary side, is it not? So for that sake, we are taking the expression in the form of secondary side parameters, that is secondary voltage, secondary current, connected power factor load, and then secondary voltage, secondary current, power factor, plus total loss, iron loss plus copper loss. So now from the entire expression, I can say that only current I2 is changing here. I2 is secondary current. So how this secondary current I2 will change? This will change according to the connected load on the secondary side, right? So if you change the load on the secondary side, then automatically I2 will change. So now we need to differentiate this efficiency equation, efficiency eta given by output by input. So differentiate this equation with respect to I2, and equate it to 0. So if you do that one, then here current I2, it is appearing in both numerator as well as part. Yes or no? Current I2, it is appearing in both numerator as well as denominator part. So if I differentiate this with respect to I2, then I should apply which rule? When variable is present in both numerator as well as in denominator part, and if you are differentiating, then which rule you are using? U by V rule, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Differentiation, just to recall the rules for differentiation. If your variables are present in both numerator as well as denominator, so here my variable quantity is I2, secondary current I2, which is the function of the loading condition. If load increases, I2 increases. If load decreases, I2 decreases. So this I2 is appearing in both numerator as well as denominator part. So because of that fact, okay, some of the students are requesting for wait for some time. Yes, who is that? See, better you rename Shura Prabhakar. Okay. Don't use short names. Whatever you are having, your real name you use while creating the account, because it is making confusion for us while giving the attendance here. Don't use nicknames or anything. So where I was expressing for which one, right? So if we differentiate with respect to I2 by taking U by V rule and equating to 0, then we are getting this expression. And after solving whole thing, at the end, we are getting to this equation here. What is that? Pi minus I2 square R2 is equal to 0. So this minus equation, if I take it on to the other side, then your equation becomes Pi is equal to I2 square R2E. So what is this I square R? I square R is nothing but copper loss, yes or no? So this is the copper loss referred to secondary side, because 2 stands for secondary parameter. So iron loss is equal to copper loss. So this is the condition for maximum efficiency. So condition for maximum efficiency is what here? Iron loss should be equal to copper loss. Can you see this PPT image clearly, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Now comes what are the features for an ideal transformer? So if you are given with a transformer, then what are the standard or ideal conditions it should have? You can see here. An ideal transformer is an imaginary transformer. Why they say it as imaginary? Because the parameters whatever we are expecting from the transformer, they are not existing in real time. So it is hard enough to maintain all those characteristics. So for that sake, we say them as imaginary transformer. Okay, an ideal transformer is an imaginary transformer which has no copper loss. Is it possible to have a transformer without copper loss?
No, sir.
No, it is not possible. So it is called as no copper loss. In the bracket they say no winding resistance, no iron loss in the core, no leakage flux. So totally the transformer can be called as ideal transformer if it is having the characteristics like zero copper loss, zero iron loss, and no leakage. If this is the condition, then we can say that type of transformer as ideal transformer. Okay, fine. But this kind of transformer is hard enough to get in the real practical world. For that sake, we call this type of transformer as imaginary transformer. If copper loss is zero, iron loss is zero, then flux leakage is zero, then automatically I can say that efficiency is 100% because whatever input we are giving, same output we are getting. If input is 1 and output is also 1 by 1 into 100, what is the efficiency? 1 divided by 1 into 100. Efficiency is 100%, but this is not true if we consider practical transformer. So 100% efficiency is possible only if it is ideal transformer having zero copper loss, zero iron loss, and zero leakage flux. Okay. Actually, it is impossible to have such a transformer in practice, but ideal transformer model makes problems easier. So we just what we are doing, we are creating some ideal transformer model, and we are taking that reference as a reference for our problem solving methods. Okay. Now, then coming to the next part is that all these things I hope you have studied in your first semester. What is that? Ideal transformer, how it is going to behave when it is not connected to any load. Have you studied this diagram? Ideal transformer on no load. No load means what? If this is my primary side and this is your secondary side. Fine. So no load means don't connect any load on the secondary side. So secondary side should be kept open here. Fine. So whenever we give AC voltage, that is V1, V1 stands for primary voltage. So if we give primary voltage, then there will be primary current I1 in the primary winding. Then primary voltage E1 will be induced, and it is having number of turns N1. Primary turns are N1, and this is my primary section. And this is my secondary section having secondary turns as N2, and induced voltage is E2. And this E2, whatever we are finding here, and this is my V2. V2 stands for voltage that is available at the load side, but here load is not there. No load, load is zero. So if load is not there means whatever E2 voltage we are inducing on the secondary winding, the same voltage is also available across the load. That is E2 is equal to V2. And here, what is the secondary current I2 here? How much is the secondary current I2?
0.
Yes, current I2 is 0 here. Why? Because what is the reason?
No load.
No load.
Because it
No
is a
load, sir.
no load. No load means it
No
is as
load.
good as open circuit. So always remember it is a open circuit. So in the open circuit, current is 0, but voltage is maximum. So here in this case, secondary current I2 is 0 because it is no load condition or open circuit condition, right? But there is one mistake here. What is that? So based on these conditions, now you have to draw the phasor diagram. So to draw the phasor diagram, let us see what are the things given here. Consider an ideal transformer on no load as shown in figure 3. Actually, this should be figure 3. The supply voltage is and the supply voltage is and it is V1. So supply voltage is what here? V1. And no load secondary current I2 is 0. So V1 is supply, I2 is the secondary current. Okay. Primary draws a current I1. So primary draws, wait a minute. Wait for some time. Yes, sorry for the interruption here. Yes, can you see this PPT clearly, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, some of the things we should remember before drawing the phasor diagram. This kind of phasor diagram. Okay. So, what do you mean by phasor diagram? Can anybody tell me before entering into that phasor diagram part? So, what is that phasor diagram going to tell us?
Sir, it indicates the relationship between current, voltage, and resistance in one graph.
Okay. Then, what about phase relation? Lead, lag, like that.
Yes, sir. It shows whether the current is lagging or voltage is lagging between the resistance and current.
Very good. So that angle, phase or means lead lag condition, it is going to show us whether current is leading or current is lagging, voltage is leading or voltage is lagging with respect to some power factor condition. Some angles we will be knowing. So phasor diagram, it is nothing but one kind of phase relation pictorial diagram with all the what is that electrical parameters embedded on the graph, right? So here to draw that phasor diagram, so this is the phasor diagram of your ideal transformer, that too phasor diagram for ideal transformer or no load condition. Okay, so to get this diagram, certain conditions we are going to follow here. Let us see what are those things. The primary current drawn is I1, which is just necessary to produce the flux in the core. So whenever we give voltage V1, then current I1 will start to flow and flux pi will start to flow through the core part, right? As it is magnetizing the core, it is called magnetizing current. So your primary current I1, it is also called as magnetizing current. Why? Because of the current I1, flux is generated. Flux means magnetizing component. So this flux is a function of primary current. Due to that fact, we say primary current is a magnetizing current, and this current, it is also denoted as Im. It is denoted as Im. As a transformer is ideal, the winding resistance is zero. So now we are speaking in terms of ideal condition transformer. So for the ideal transformer, winding resistance should be zero and purely inductive in nature. If resistance is zero for this primary and secondary winding, then it is completely pure inductive coil. It is a pure inductive coil, right? So in the inductive coil, what is the relationship between voltage and current? Suppose if this primary winding is completely inductive in nature with zero resistance, then what is the relationship between primary voltage and primary current, V1 and I1? Yes. What will be the condition, phase relation?
Current lags by voltage by angle 90 degree.
Exactly 90 degree. Very good. So if it is purely inductive in nature, always remember current lags voltage by an angle 90 degree. But here there is some misprint. It is given as 30 degree. It is not 30 degree, it is 90 degree. Make that correction. Okay. The magnetizing current Im is very small and lags voltage V1. V1 is primary voltage by 90 degree. It is. Don't get confused. It is not 30 degree, it is 90 degree. Okay. Make that correction. Varies by 90 degree as the winding is purely inductive, right? So this Im produces alternating flux, yes or no? So whenever we excite primary winding by voltage source V1, current I1 will flow, and this current I1, it is also called as magnetizing current Im, and this Im is purely inductive in nature. Due to that fact, Im lags voltage V1 by 90 degree, and this Im, it is going to produce flux pi, which is linking to both primary as well as secondary side. Okay, fine. And Im lags voltage V1 by an angle of 90 degree. It is given as 30, make that correction as 90 degree. Okay. This Im produces an alternating flux pi, which is in phase with Im. So since flux is produced because of magnetizing current Im, and Im is once again, that is nothing but your current I1, yes or no? So flux is a function of Im, and this Im is function of I1. So flux pi and current Im both will be in phase. If both are in phase, means what is the meaning? Thus, Im produces an alternating flux pi which is in phase with Im. In phase with Im means what is the power factor angle pi? Yes,
0, sir.
0.
power factor angle pi will be 0. So cos 0 is what?
1.
Cos
1.
0 is 1. So here in this case,
1.
okay, that is 1. Very good. So here, since flux is dependent on current Im is dependent on current I1. So this flux which is generated because of magnetizing current, both flux as well as Im will be in phase, and current Im lags V1 by an angle of 90 degrees. Just to remember these things. Now, the flux links with both primary and with both the winding, producing the secondary induced EMFs E1 and E2 in the primary and secondary winding. So this E1 is present at primary side, E2 is present at secondary side. These two are the induced EMFs. Okay. According to Lenge's law, the induced EMF opposes the cause producing it, which is supply voltage V1. Yes or no? So to get this induced voltage E1 at the primary side, E2 at the secondary side, what is the cause for that? What is the cause? Cause is the supply voltage. So when we give supply voltage V1, then there will be current I1. Then current I1 will give rise to magnetizing current I, and that will give rise to flux. Because of the flux, mutual induction will take place, and induced EMF E1 and E2 will be produced. So this E1 and E2, these are the effect, and cause for this effect is V1. And as per Lenge's law, the effect will oppose to the cause. So cause is V1 and effect is E1 and E2, right? So as per Lenge's law, E1 will oppose to E1. Hence, E1 is in antiphase with V1 but equal in magnitude. So always remember, your induced EMF E1 will oppose to the cause. Cause is primary voltage. Primary voltage, it will oppose, but its magnitude will be equal, but in opposite direction. Hence, E1 is in antiphase with V1, but what is that? But equal in magnitude and opposite in direction. Opposing means what? It will be in anti-direction. Okay. The induced EMF E2 also opposes V1. Hence, it is also antiphase with V1. Right. So this E2, it is also opposing to the cause V1, and also this is also once again in antiphase, in reverse direction. But now, like how the condition like E1 and V1 both are equal in magnitude but opposite in direction. This is the case with your V1 and E1, but this is not true in case of your E2. Why? Because what is this E2? Secondary side induced EMF, secondary side induced voltage, and on the secondary side we are connecting the load. So if you increase or decrease the load, then accordingly voltage will be keeps on changing. Yes or no? If load is more, current will be more, then voltage will be less. So in that way, this E2 will be keeps on changing according to the loading conditions. So now, no doubt E2 is also opposing to the cause V1, but that will not be equal to V1. But if you take your E1 and V1 condition, both will be equal in magnitude and they will be in anti-clockwise, anti in direction, anti-phase direction. But whereas your E2, this is also opposing to V1, but its magnitude is not equal to V1 because it is dependent on loading condition. Load is connected on the secondary side, right? Is in anti-phase with V1 but equal in magnitude. The induced E2 also opposes V1 but in anti-phase with V1, but its magnitude depends on N2. N2 means number of turns, and indirectly we can say what is that? Loading condition. Okay. Thus E1 and E2 are in phase. Thus E1 and where is that? Thus E1 and E2 are in phase. Okay. Now whatever the things we have seen, now we are going to represent it using this phasor diagram. So first we should take flux pi as reference. Okay. You can see it. It can be seen that flux pi is taken as reference. So on the x-axis you take flux pi as reference. So what is the initial assumption we have taken? Flux pi, it is generated because of what? This flux pi, it is because of what?
Im.
Due to
It is
current
because
flowing.
Im.
Im, yes or no? Pi is generated because of magnetizing current. But once again, Im is because of what?
I1.
I1.
I1, yes or no? And all they will be in phase with each other. So this x-axis is taken as flux and that too as a reference. And wherever flux will be there in the same direction, you show for I1 equal to Im. I1 equal to Im and all with each other. In phase with each other means their angle pi will be 0. So here you can see both flux as well as current phasors, they are coinciding with each other, thereby making power factor angle pi as 0. So pi angle is 0 here, right? So this is my first step. Im produces pi, hence it is in phase with pi. The next condition is what? V1 leads Im voltage, because it is purely inductive in nature, means V1 leads Im by 90 degree. So if this is my Im, means in the pure inductive circuits, always current lags voltage by 90 degrees. So here in this case, Im is my current and V1 is the voltage. So this current Im lags to the voltage exactly by 90 degree. So if this is my V1 and this is my Im, and the angle in between V1 and I1 or Im, it is 90 degree, because current Im, which is purely inductive in nature, lags to the voltage V1 by an angle of 90 degree. By an angle of 90 degree. V1 leads, or otherwise I can say V1 leads to the current Im by 90 degree, or else Im lags to the voltage by an angle of 90 degree. Both are one and the same, right? And after the words, what we have said, we also said that induced EMF E1 and E2, they are the effect, and those effect as per Lenz's law, it will oppose to the cause. Cause is V1 here. So if V1 is on this side, means you have to show in the reverse direction. So this will be my E1 and this will be my E2. Are you getting? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Why? Because the condition is what? V1 should be equal to E1. So the length of V1 and length of E1 should be equal, and both should be in the opposite direction. But the length of V1 may not be equal to length of E2. It is all dependent on the number of turns N2 or loading conditions. So this E1 length should be equal to V1, but whereas the length of V1 may not be equal to E2, but both what is that, E1 and E2, they will be in anti-phase with V1. And next condition is also what? E1 and E2, they will be in phase with each other. So for that sake only, both primary induced EMF, secondary side induced EMF, they will be shown in the same downward direction, whereas V1 is shown in the upward direction. Saying reason is, this is my cause and these are the effects. These effects will oppose to the cause. V1 will be equal to E1, but in opposite direction. V1 is not equal to E2, but in also opposite direction. Flux and Im, they will be in phase with each other. Primary voltage V1 will be leading to the current Im by 90 degree, or Im lagging to the voltage by an angle of 90 degree, right? So all these things will tell you what is the relationship between voltage and current. This phasor diagram, we can say that the primary current and magnetizing current are same, and it will be in phase with the flux. Whereas voltage V1, primary voltage V1, it is leading to the magnetizing current Im by an angle of 90 degree. E1 induced EMF primary E1 and induced secondary EMF E2, both they are in phase and they are opposite to the V1. Yes, just by this one single phasor diagram, you can trace what is the relationship between different electrical parameters. Different electrical parameters are nothing but flux, current, and voltages. Is it clear, all of you? Yes.
Yes, sir.
What about others?
Yes, sir.
I am not getting the response from different students. Only one or two voice I am able
Yes,
to
sir.
hear. Okay, fine.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So now,
Yes, sir.
okay, fine. Then comes your actual syllabus. Till here, whatever I have discussed, this is your basics. Basics in the sense, already you have studied this in your basic electrical transformer topic. Okay. Now your actual syllabus begins from this from now onwards. Operation of practical transformer on no load condition. So till now, whatever we have seen, it is for your ideal transformer, right? That is for ideal transformer, but that ideal transformer is not present in the real time world. So it is very difficult for us to get what is that ideal transformer. So now once we come to the conclusion that ideal transformer it is not possible to get, then the next type of the transformer is what? If not ideal, then it should be practical transformer. Yes or no? So whatever the transformers we are using, those all are your practical transformers. So if it is called as practical transformer, then what are its characteristics? Yes or no? So what do you mean by practical transformer? Whatever the characteristics they are there for ideal transformer, they won't be there for practical transformer. Yes or no? Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So what are the characteristics of your ideal transformer?
There is no copper loss, iron loss, and flux leakage.
Very good. So these are the characteristics of your ideal transformer. So ideal, what is that? Transformer characteristics are there should not be any copper loss, there should not be any leakage of the flux, there should not be any copper loss. So these are the characteristics of your ideal transformer. So now if it is a practical transformer, then it is reverse or opposite characteristics. It is having iron loss, it is having copper loss, also there will be leakage in the flux, right? If that is the case, then that type of the transformer we call it as what? Practical transformer. Practical transformer, right? So now you are given with a practical transformer which is having iron loss, copper loss, as well as there is a leakage in the flux. I just want to ask you one question here. What do you mean by leakage of flux here? Yes. What do you mean by
Flux
leakage?
leakage means in secondary side we applied a load, no sir. That's why there is a leakage of some flux, and
Leakage
also
where?
due to some losses.
So that leakage where it is going to take place? Can you see the PPT now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you tell me, where do you find the leakage here?
In the secondary side of the
Flux, where it is flowing. First you tell me, where does that flux will flow?
in the core, sir.
Core, yes or no? So actually flux, whenever in the core section, it should be made to flow only through the entire core part only, right? But actually what happens here is that some of the flux it will link with the what is that, outside the core also. Outside the core means what? Air part. So if you take the limb of the transformer, it will be vertical in section, yes or no? Onto that vertical limb we are going to wound winding, primary winding and secondary winding. But whatever that cavity will be there, in that cavity you will be having vacuum space, yes or no? So in that vacuum space or air space gap, you can find that flux will travel there. Yes, flux will travel means flux will not confine to the only core part. It is also going to travel through the air gap also. Are you getting my point, all of you? It is not only,
Yes, sir.
it is not only confined to the core part, it is also going to travel through the air path also. So that air path, whatever it is going to follow, that air path we are going to see that flux is not at all used in generating any voltage. So that entire flux is a waste, you can call it as wastage of the flux. That flux is no more used for any useful purpose. So such flux we call it as leakage flux. So such kind of the phenomena you can observe in the case of practical transformer. So your practical transformer is also having iron loss, then it is also having, wait a minute, it is also having copper loss, and then it is also having leakage in the flux. So if this is the case, then how the transformer will behave, how the practical transformer will behave on no load condition. Just now we have seen the performance of transformer, ideal transformer, that too on no load condition. So here in this case, primary current and magnetizing current, they are equal and they are in phase with the flux. V1 lags to the Im by 90 degree. Sorry, V1 leads to the Im by 90 degree. E1 and E2 are in phase and anti-phase with V1. So this is the phasor diagram of your ideal transformer on no load. This is the phasor diagram of your ideal transformer on no load. But this is not the actual phasor diagram if you take for your practical transformer. The reason is very simple. It is having losses in the copper side, copper winding, losses in the core part, that is iron loss. Also there will be leakage in the flux. If that is the case, then this primary current I1, it will not be in phase with the magnetizing component Im. Here both are in phase, but I1 will not be in phase with the Im, and some of the parameters gets disturbed because of the practical transformer. Let us see how the phasor diagram for practical transformer will look like now. Okay. You can see here, actually in practical transformer, iron core causes hysteresis and eddy current losses as it is subjected to alternating flux. Right. So always remember there are two subparts of your iron losses, that is hysteresis and eddy current loss. Right. Whenever flux will be there in the air, that is core or the iron part, then it is going to have both eddy current as well as hysteresis loss. Right. So while designing the transformer, efforts are made to keep these losses minimum. Right. Always we should make sure that losses they are there in the transformer. It should be kept minimum as possible. If losses are more, then input we are applying, whole input will be getting wasted in order to meet out losses itself. Then output is minimum. So for that sake, efforts are made to keep the losses minimum. So how to make the hysteresis loss and eddy current loss, which are responsible for iron losses, to be kept a minimum? Let us see now. So while designing the transformer, efforts are made to keep these losses minimum, using high grade material as silicon steel to reduce hysteresis loss. I hope you know how to minimize the hysteresis loss already. Yes? How do we reduce hysteresis loss in case of transformer?
The core is by making the core.
Sir, by using high grade silicon steel, we can reduce hysteresis loss.
Very good. Here already it is there, no? Just you can refer and tell. Using high grade silicon steel, you can reduce the hysteresis loss. And the same question they are going to put in front of you for machines lab Viva. How do you reduce hysteresis loss in case of transformers? So always remember, hysteresis loss can be minimized by using high grade silicon steel material for making core part, right? So this is all about hysteresis loss. Then what about one more loss which is responsible for iron loss, that is eddy current loss? Yes or no? So how to reduce the eddy current loss? Can anybody? How do we reduce eddy current loss?
Sir, by using thin laminated structure.
Okay, so by using thin lamination structure, we are going to minimize the eddy current loss. So altogether, our conclusion is that if you want to reduce the hysteresis loss, you should use high grade silicon steel material. If you want to reduce eddy current loss, then we should use thin, thin laminations. Thin laminations which will give rise to very small eddy current losses. So this is all about minimizing iron losses, right? This is all about minimizing iron losses, right? Apart from this, there are iron losses in the practical transformer. Practically, primary winding has certain resistance, hence there are small primary copper loss present. So your primary and secondary windings of the transformer, it is not purely inductive in nature. If we take ideal transformer, there we say that windings are purely inductive in nature, but that is not true in the case of practical transformer. Your practical transformer, primary and secondary winding, along with the inductance, they are also having small amount of resistance also. If it is having resistance, means what is the type of loss you can expect there? If primary and secondary winding, they are having small amount of resistance, then what type of loss you can expect?
Copper loss too.
How? You are right. You are right.
So due to heat,
No. Yeah, whatever you said, no, it is copper loss. That is right. But yes, madam. Okay. Coming back to the concept here. Your answer is right. Copper loss. Well, so can you just justify? Your answer is right. Copper loss. So what is the formula for copper loss?
I square R, sir.
I square R. Right. So R is present there. R means what there?
Resistance.
resistance.
R means resistance. So if resistance is present there means there will be copper loss, because copper loss formula is nothing but I square R. So if R will be increasing, then automatically copper loss will be increasing. So your primary and secondary winding, they are also having small amount of copper losses also. So iron loss is present in the core, and copper losses, it is present in the primary and secondary winding. Understood? Since your primary and secondary winding, they are made up of copper winding, due to that reason we say losses as, we call those losses as copper loss, whereas core material, it is made up of iron or magnetic material. Because of that reason we say core losses as iron loss. Remember, okay? Thus the primary current under no load condition has to supply iron losses, that is hysteresis and eddy current loss, and a small amount of copper loss. Okay, so whenever we give primary voltage V1 to the primary winding, then that primary voltage V1, what it will do? On applying primary voltage V1 to the primary winding, you can find I1 will be there. Yes. Now this current I1, what it has to do? It has to supply eddy current loss, it has to supply hysteresis loss in the core, and also it has to supply copper losses in the winding. So now your primary current, it has to supply eddy current and hysteresis losses in the core and copper losses in the copper winding. Understood? This is the meaning. Thus the primary current under no load condition has to supply iron losses, that is hysteresis and eddy current loss, and a small amount of primary copper loss. Okay, this current is denoted as I naught. It is denoted as I naught. So why do we represent this as I naught? Can anybody? Why not only I? Why we are using as I naught? Yes. Can anybody?
No load current,
Yes.
sir.
Because it is a no load current. Let me check how many of them are online. Because very few responses I am getting here. Wait a minute, I will check how many students are on. 48. What about remaining 20 students? See if this kind of, all of you be online. Where I was. So this current is denoted as, now primary current I1, whatever we are saying, but now that primary current I1, now it is denoted as I naught. I naught stands for no load current, because load is 0 on the secondary side. If we don't connect any load on the secondary side, and then my primary current I1, it has to supply the two components. Which are those two components? Let us see. A purely reactive component IM called magnetizing component. So when I1 is there, because of V1, I1 will be there. Now that I1, it is called here in this case as I naught, because load is 0. So this I naught is denoted as no load input current I naught. So this current, what is its work? It has to supply to the magnetizing current, which is nothing but IM. And what this IM will do? What this IM will do? This will produce the flux in the core, and this component we call it as wattless component. So magnetizing current IM, it is also called as wattless component, whereas the other part of the current is called as active component IC. what this IC will do, this will supply total losses under no load condition, or the called power component. So since it is supplying to the total losses, so for that reason we say this IC as wattful component, whereas magnetizing current IM as wattless component. IM, what it will do, it will produce the flux, whereas IC will what it will do, it will meet out all the total losses, right? So now your no load current I naught, it is the vector sum of IM and IC. It is the vector sum of I1 and IM and IC. Okay, you can see here I naught, no load component I naught. Here vector symbol we are showing. I naught is equal to IM plus IC. Now how to represent this, all these things you can see here. In practical transformer, due to winding resistance, no load current I naught is no longer 90 degree with respect to V1. Just to make the comparison here. So the comparison is what? In the ideal transformer, this current is denoted as what? I naught is denoted as what in ideal transformer?
I1.
I1, yes, very good. So their ideal transformer current, it is denoted as I1, but I1 and IM, they are equal to each other, and that will produce the flux, and all together the three components, they are in phase, and that one we are taking it as reference. But now this I naught, it is split into two components. It is made up of IM and IC. It is made up of IM and IC. And now earlier IM, it was completely lagging by 90 degree with respect to what? V1. But now your primary winding, they are not purely inductive in nature. They are having some resistance. Because of the presence of the resistance, now the phase angle is not exactly 90 degree, but it will be less than 90 degrees. So I naught lags to the voltage, primary voltage V1 by an angle which is less than 90 degree. Earlier it was exactly 90 degree because it is inductive in nature, no resistance is there. But now because of the presence of the resistance, it is not a purely inductive coil. Because of that, we say that the angle between I naught and V1 is less than 90 degree. I naught lags to the voltage V1 by an angle which is less than 90 degree, right? Thus cos pi naught is called no load power factor. So the angle between V1 and I naught is pi naught. So if you take cos of this pi naught, then this is called as power factor. Yes or no? Since it is no load, because of that reason we call this one as no load power factor. Thus cos pi naught is called no load power factor of practical transformer. Now let us represent the things in terms of phasor diagram for practical transformer. Here in the earlier case, now you only tell me, in the earlier case, this is my I1, yes or no? In the ideal transformer, this I1 is my I naught, but now this I naught is split into two components. IM, which is wattless component, that is magnetizing current responsible for producing the flux, and other is wattful component IC, which will meet out all the total losses. So vector sum of IC and IM, vector sum of IC and IM is what here?
I know.
Yes, I naught. Yes or no?
I know.
Vector sum of wait a minute. IC and IM is I naught. And in the earlier case, this was my I1, and this I1 and IM both are resting on the same x-axis. Yes or no? This was earlier I1 and IM, they are equal to each other and they are in phase with the pi. Yes or no? And this I was denoting this one as I1. And in that case, this I1 and V1, they are exactly lagging with respect to each other by what angle there? If I bring this phasor to the x-axis, then what will be the angle?
90 degree.
90 degree.
90
90
degrees. So,
degree.
but that is true only if it is ideal transformer. But now here you are having certain resistance present in the primary and secondary winding. Because of that fact, now your I naught, it is split up into two components. One is wattless component IM, which will produce the flux, that is magnetizing current, and one is wattful component IC, which will meet out all the losses, right? So vector sum of IC and IM is I naught, and now the angle between I naught, no load current I naught, and primary voltage is what? No load power factor angle pi naught. Earlier, this pi naught is what? What is the angle in the earlier case for this pi naught? It was 90 degree. But now, is it less than 90 degree or more than 90 degree?
Less than 90 degree.
So now it is less than 90 degree in the case of practical transformer, and rest of the things they are same. Here once again, E1 is in anti-phase with the V1, both are equal and opposite with the magnitude and direction, but E2 is also in anti-phase with the V1, but the only thing is that E2 may not be equal to V1. So everything is same. V1 is on this side only, E1 and E2 are also in the same direction. The only difference what you can observe here is that this I1 and I0. I1 earlier in the practical transformer, so in the ideal transformer, it was resting here, where I1 and IM they are equal and they are in phase with the pi. But now, because of the presence of the resistance, now I0 is split up into two components. This I0, what it will do? It will supply the magnetizing component. Also, it will supply the total losses. Total losses means wattful component. Magnetizing component means wattless component. Vector sum of IM and IC is I0, and the angle between I0 and V1 now it is less than 90 degree, which is nothing but pi naught, which is no load power factor angle pi naught. So if you apply cos to this pi naught, then this will be called as no load power factor. Okay, so this is the phasor diagram of your practical transformer no load condition, right? So now from this diagram you have to derive the equation for IM and IC in terms of I0. So now if you apply the trigonometric relationship for this triangle I0 and IM, so what is the relationship of IM with respect to I0? So IM, if you solve in terms of I0, so IM magnetizing component or wattless component IM is equal to I0 times of sin pi naught. I0 times of sin pi naught, or otherwise IM is equal to I0 sin pi naught. How you are going to correlate IM with respect to I0? Because this I0 is what? It is responsible for IM, it is also responsible for IC. So how IM is correlated with I0 and how IC is correlated with I0 in terms of trigonometrical relations, right? So magnetizing component IM is equal to I0 into sin pi naught. Similarly, wattful component IC is equal to I0 cos pi naught. IC is equal to I0 cos pi naught. And if I want to get the magnitude of this I0, then I0 is equal to what? Under root of square plus IC square, under root of IM square plus IC square. So this is my magnetizing component, and this is my what is that? Wattful component. This is wattless component or magnetizing component, and this is our active component or wattful component. Wattful component is given as I0 cos pi naught, and magnetizing component is given as I0 sin pi naught. And these formulas are very important whenever you are solving the problems and whenever we are discussing the next testing methods of transformer, that is open circuit test, short circuit test, as well as equivalent circuit of transformer. There oftenly we are using these formulas. IM is equal to I0 sin pi naught, IC is equal to I0 cos pi naught. So all these formulas we are deriving from this phasor diagram, remember. And if I want to get the value of I0, if I know IC and IM, then I0 is equal to under root of IM square plus IC square. So this is no load current, this is active current, and this is magnetizing current. Now, what is the no load power? No load power. Power is nothing but what? Power is nothing but what? VI cos pi. Yes or no? Power is nothing but VI cos pi. Yes or no? Yes. What is the formula for single phase AC power?
VI cos phi, sir.
VI cos pi. So now, here in this case, V is denoted as V1. V1 means primary current, primary voltage, and I is what here? No load power it is. Here we have not connected any load. Just I want to clarify that. Now we are going to calculate no load power. Right, no load power. So now So our equation is given by what? Vi cos pi, right? So in place of V, here we are taking it as V1. Why we are not taking it as V2? Can anybody? Why only we should take as V1? Why not V2? What is the concept you are studying here?
Because of no load.
It is no load.
No load.
It is no load means we are going to excite the transformer from primary side, yes or no? So from primary side, what is the voltage? You can see primary voltage
V1.
is V1.
V1,
Very good. V I cos pi. I means what here? No load current I naught. And cos pi is what here? Cos pi naught. Pi naught is what? Angle between I naught and V1. Angle between I naught and V1 is I naught. So now W naught is equal to V1 I naught cos pi naught. But what is my I naught cos pi naught value? What is my pi naught value? That is equal to
IC.
IC. But what is this IC? Active component. Active component, or this is the component which is responsible to meet out the total losses of the transformer. So now total losses. So now in place of I naught and cos pi naught, we are going to replace this by IC. So no load power W naught is equal to V1 IC. No load power W naught is equal to V1 IC. So now whenever we don't connect any load to the transformer, then you only tell me which type of losses you are going to observe, whether it is iron loss or copper loss. You have not connected any load, and if you want to calculate the power during no load condition, then that power using wattmeter, whether it is going to give you iron loss value or copper loss value.
Iron loss value, sir.
Why?
Because there is no resistor.
Because there is
No resistor.
how you can say? See, load, there is no load. You can say the answer can be there is no load. If there is no load, then whether current will be absent or resistance will be absent.
Current, sir.
Current will be absent. Current I is absent means current I condition is 0. If current I is 0, then automatically what is I square R?
0, sir.
0 square into R, 0 square into R means 0 only. So completely your copper loss they are 0. Then which is the remaining loss?
Core loss.
It is core loss or
Core
iron loss. Core loss or iron loss. So always remember, whenever you don't connect any load, and if you measure the power by connecting the wattmeter, then that power will give the value of the iron losses. That will give the value of the iron losses. That is W naught is equal to V1 I naught cos pi naught. I naught cos pi naught is the active component which will meet out the total losses. That is V1 IC. So V1 IC is nothing but Pi, that is equal to iron loss. Is it clear, all of you, why this W naught is iron loss? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is the formula for iron loss. This is the formula for no load component of the current. This is the formula for active component. This is the formula for magnetizing current. Im is equal to I naught sin pi naught. Ic is equal to I naught cos pi naught. I naught is equal to under root of Im square plus Ic square. W naught is equal to V1 I naught cos pi naught. So whenever we don't connect any load, and if we measure the power by connecting wattmeter to the transformer, then that wattmeter will read iron loss. Then that will read iron loss. The reason is very simple. Since load is not connected, if load is not there means current is 0. If current is 0, then I square R is 0. If I square R is 0, then copper loss is 0. Then the only reading what you can expect is copper loss, sorry, iron loss. Right. Suppose if I connect the load, then what will happen? If I connect the load on the secondary side, then what will happen? That load will draw the current.
There is
Yes
the
or no?
I2, sir.
There will be I2. But make sure that to get the complete copper loss, the condition should be such that whatever the transformer load carrying capacity will be there, according to that full load condition only you have to apply the load. So if suppose, for example, your transformer is designed for 1 kVA, 1 kVA, and if it is having operated on a single phase load, so 1 kVA means 1000 divided by single phase power supply is what, 230. 1000 by 230, how much you will be getting? Around 4.3 ampere. So I should apply 4.3 ampere load on the secondary side. So if I make the provision to connect 4.3 ampere capacity load on the secondary side, then during that period of time, I can say that our watt meter, it is reading copper loss, that too for rated condition, right? So if we connect the load, then we are getting copper loss. If we don't connect the load, then we are getting iron loss. Are you getting my point, all of you? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Fine. Okay, fine. So based on these formulas, that is magnetizing current IM, always you remember one thing: if I increase or decrease the load on the secondary side, accordingly current will change. One thing you remember, load is directly proportional to current. If there is no load, then current is zero. If there is load, then current is there. If load increases, current increases. If load decreases, current decreases. Just you remember, load is directly proportional to current. If you add more amount of the load, then transformer will draw more current. If you reduce the load, then transformer will draw less amount of the current. If there is no load, then current is zero. Just to remember, load is a function of current value. Okay. Now, based on this IM, IC, and I naught, we are going to solve one problem now. Very simple problem. You can see here. The no load current of a transformer is 10 amperes. So no load current means what? Is it I1 or I0?
I1, sir.
I naught.
No load current means I0. At a power factor of 0.25 lagging. So power factor means cos pi, but since we are dealing with the no load condition, means it will be cos pi naught here. Cos pi naught is equal to 0.25 lagging. Always remember, in the case of transformer, power factor condition will be lagging only, because transformer is a inductive load. Okay. So given conditions are I naught is equal to 10 ampere, cos pi naught is equal to 0.25 lagging, and it is connected to what voltage? V1 is equal to 400 volts. Connected to 400 volts means transformer is excited by 400 volts. Its frequency is 50 hertz. Calculate first one, magnetizing component. Magnetizing component means what? IM or IC?
IM.
IM. Then iron loss. Iron loss means what is the formula? W naught is equal to V1 I naught cos pi naught, or W1 is equal to V1 IC. V1 I naught cos pi naught, but I naught cos pi naught is nothing but what? That is IC. Yes or no? IC, right? Then you should also calculate for maximum value of the flux in the core. So you should calculate the pi m value also. So let us calculate these things one by one based on the given data here. Assume primary winding turns as 500. So N1 value they have given here. Primary winding turns as 500. N1 is 500. Okay. Now rewrite all the given data. Given values are I naught is equal to 10 ampere, cos pi naught is equal to 0.25, V1 is equal to 400, and F is equal to 50 hertz. Now first you calculate magnetizing component IM. IM is equal to I naught sin pi naught, right? So here we know the value of power factor, no load power factor, cos pi naught. Cos pi naught is 0.25. So cos pi naught is 0.25, but I don't know power factor angle. So separate that power factor angle from cos value. So pi naught is equal to cos inverse of 0.25. So it's so if I take the cos inverse of 0.25, then power factor angle will be 75.522. What is the meaning here? Which type of load it is? Which type of transformer? Whether it is ideal transformer or practical transformer?
Practical transformer.
Why?
Practical transfer.
Why it is practical?
Because the angle less than 90.
Angle is less than 90, but so very good. So this angle, which is less than 90 degree, it is present in between which phasors? 75.52. This angle, where do you find?
Between V1 and I naught.
It is present between V1 and I naught. Very good. So this 75.52 is the no load power factor angle, which is in between V1 vector V1 and I naught. Okay. So this is my no load power factor angle. Now we are interested in calculating magnetizing component Im. So Im is equal to I naught sine pi naught. So I naught, no load power factor I naught is 10, sine of pi naught. Pi naught is what? 75.522. So 10 into sine of 75.522, that will be magnetizing current is 9.68. So now if 10 ampere is the no load current I naught, if 10 ampere is the no load current I naught, so I naught is the vector sum of what? I naught is the vector sum of
Im plus IC.
Im plus IC. So now already we came to know that Im is 9.68. Im is 9.6824. Then what will be your IC? 10 minus this, yes or no? Because I naught is equal to Im plus IC. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
No load current
Yes, sir.
I naught is equal to Im plus IC. Already I know I naught, and just now we have calculated for Im. So how to get the value for IC? IC is equal to I naught minus Im. I naught is the total current. If you did, reduce Im from that, then we will be getting 10 minus of 9.6284. That will be my IC. This is the one way, but they have not told us to calculate IC. They just told us to calculate magnetizing component of the current, that is Im. Now we calculate for iron loss. So iron loss Pi is equal to W naught is equal to V1 I naught cos pi naught. So V1 primary voltage is 400, no load component is 10, and no load power factor is how much here? No load power factor 0.25. Direct value you have to substitute here. Always remember, power factor means it is cos pi. Power factor angle means cos inverse of whatever power factor value will be given. Don't get confused. So 400 into 10 into 0.25. So this will be my iron loss, that is 1000 watts. So I have calculated for magnetizing component, I have calculated for iron loss. Then what is remaining now? Yes, what is remaining? You need to estimate maximum flux pi m. So to get the value of maximum flux, we are going to take the help of what is that? EMF equation of transformer. So on no load condition, what is the phasor diagram? On no load condition, induced primary voltage is also equal to the primary applied voltage. Yes or no? E1 is equal to V1. And given that, what is the primary voltage here? 400 volts. Also, they have given at the end primary winding turns. We have to assume it as 500 turns. So primary winding turns means this will be your N1. N1 is equal to 500. E1 equal to V1 equal to 400. Now make use of your transformer EMF equation for single phase. Okay, E1 is equal to 4.44 F pi m N1. So what is my E1? E1 is 400. 4.44. Operating frequency is 50 hertz. Unknown is pi m. N1 is 500. Everything, all the parameters they are known to us. The only unknown parameter is what here? Maximum flux pi m. So substitute and solve this equation. Then finally flux pi m is available as 3.6036 milliwebers. 3.6036 milliwebers. Is it clear, all of you?
Yes, sir.
This is just one simple problem what we have discussed based on magnetizing component, active component, and maximum flux value. And from next class onwards, we are going to discuss very important concept, that is phasor diagrams for transformer on load condition. Remember, this is a fixed question or important question, what I can say, and this question will be asked repeatedly all the time, that too for 6 to 8 marks. Understood? Phasor diagrams for transformer on no load. So whatever I have discussed today, from here you can start operation of practical transformer on no load. Already yesterday I have given the notes for you. I hope you have gone through the notes. Yes. Have you seen those notes? Complete 5 module notes I have given to you yesterday.
Yes, sir.
So complete 5 module notes I have given, and in that notes some of the problems they are there, and some of the problems I have not included. Better what you can do for numerical problems, you can purchase transformers and generators by author Bakshi. Okay. Theory part you can read it from the PDF only. You can buy transformers and generator by Bakshi, that is new edition, 2020 edition you can purchase, and in the textbook you can find all types of problems. So if you read that Bakshi book, it is more than sufficient. And whatever the things I have discussed, starting from operation of practical transformer on load on no load. Actually, your syllabus begins from here. Operation of practical transformer on no load. So using this no load concept only, using this phasor diagram only, we are going to derive all these equations, IM, IC, I0, W0. So based on this, we have solved the problem. And in tomorrow's class, I am going to discuss for phasor diagrams for transformer on load condition. Till now, we have seen practical transformer on no load condition. Okay. But in the next class, we are going to discuss how the practical transformer will behave if you are connecting the load on the secondary side. And load might be resistive load, capacitive load, or inductive load. So based on those 3 different conditions, you are going to come up with some KCL, some KVL equations here. So using that KVL equation, you have to develop the phasor diagram, this phasor diagram. I hope this phasor diagram already you are familiar, yes or no? Yes?
Yes, sir.
This phasor diagram already you have studied in basic electrical transformer topic. This is a phasor diagram for practical transformer on no load if it is connected with unity power factor, means resistive load. This is the phasor diagram if it is lagging means inductive load. This is the power factor if it is leading. All these phasor diagrams we'll discuss in the tomorrow's class, and this is almost all I can say. It is an important question which is going to be asked repeatedly every time in the exam for 6 to 8 marks. What you are supposed to do is just you should draw this phasor diagram, just to draw this transformer and denote all the things and write what is this parameter R1, X1, R2, X2, all these things. Then straight away you write the KVL equation for primary side, you write the KVL equation for secondary side, and based on those KVL equations, you have to develop the phasor diagram if it is resistive load, if it is inductive load, if it is capacitive load. These things I am going to discuss in the tomorrow's class. Okay, don't get afraid. Just whatever things I am going to explain you, read those things. That much it is more than sufficient. Okay, so this is a important topic. Don't miss tomorrow's class. Right. So before going to enter to this tomorrow's class topic, I request from all the students to go through this topic, that is phasor diagrams for transformer on load condition, because this is not a new concept for you. Already you are familiar with the transformer, right? What you are supposed to do is you should go through all the theory part, whatever notes I have given to you yesterday. So before coming to the tomorrow's class, you should read all these concepts, that is phasor diagram for transformer on no load. This is my given transformer, which is practical in nature. Practical in the nature means it is having resistance, primary resistance, secondary resistance. It is also having leakage in the flux, and it is connected to some load here. This is secondary side, which is connected to the load ZL. But this load you can be resistive load or inductive load or capacitive load. Depending upon that, you are going to have 3 different phasor diagrams. This is for R, this is for L, and this is for C. So, are you going to study this topic before I start tomorrow? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Before coming to the tomorrow's class, just you go through this topic, because once you read, no, by that time you will be understanding some percentage of the basic things. Whatever doubts you are having, that you can clarify in the tomorrow's class. So before coming to the tomorrow's class, I request from all the students to go through this topic, that is phasor diagram for transformer on load condition. This thing, this all KCL KVL equation, then how we are going to construct the phasor diagram, what all things we have to assume for drawing this phasor diagram for R, for L, and for C. Just you read it till here. And this, if you are perfect with these things, then remember, you have got 6 to 8 marks in the final exam, because this is a fixed question in the final exam. Okay. So all of you go through these things. Also, you go through the what is it, operation of practical transformer on no load, whatever I have discussed today. And for tomorrow's class, we go through the phasor diagram of transformer, phasor diagram for transformer on load condition. Is it okay, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Yes. Do you have any doubts? Wait a minute.
No, sir.
If you have any doubts, you can feel free to ask. Don't keep those doubts in between you only. See, if you have any doubts, you can just, what you can do, you can turn on your video. We can have interaction where you are facing the problems. At least, are you getting the things, whatever I'm explaining to you, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Do you feel teaching is fast, or is it okay?
It is okay, sir. Good, sir.
Okay, fine. And what about response from boys? Yes, boys.
Yes, sir.
Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So before coming to the tomorrow's class, go through the phasor diagram of transformer on load condition. Okay. Have a good day, all of you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.